So at 8:26, how about this for losing weight? David Rose-Massom from Southampton lost 5 stone in 4 months after being hypnotised into thinking he had a gastric band. And if you're watching Channel 4 on Monday night, you go, oh, I know that story. That's the man who was on How to Lose Weight. Well, yes, it was. Have a listen.
64-year-old writer David has struggled with his weight for much of his adult life. Now, over 21 stone and with a bad back, he recently decided to take the plunge to try out weight loss hypnosis.
Sue did her session and she went, and we're going down to 5 and 4, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to sleep, you're not going to get me, and 3 and 2, and the next thing I know is she's telling me I'm waking up, and it was 40 minutes later.
And you don't remember anything from that session?
Absolutely nothing.
So he's with me now, and it's prompted our big conversation this morning because I've never done this as a phone-in today. I've done it as a subject, David, which is, have you ever been hypnotised and does it work? So if you're listening, join in 0345 30 39 61. Ladies and gentlemen, David Rose-Massom. David, good morning.
Good morning.
So it really works.
Well, I was a sceptic, but yes, it does.
Sure.
I mean, the thinner me says it works. The thinner, happier me, I must say.
I can see that with you in the studio with me this morning. So when it was suggested, did you think, aye?
I saw a feature on it, and I thought it's worth a go, because I've tried all sorts of diets. I've been to the meetings where you all gather round and weigh yourself, and it works fine until you put on weight and you decide, I'm not going to a meeting because I've put on weight.
Yes.
So I needed something else, but I do love food. And I don't want to give up food. I adore my food.
And who was the hypnotist? Are we allowed to say that?
I had 2. I went to Hampshire Hypno, and they started a thing called Easy Loss.
Right.
And we've got Facebook support, we've got app support, all sorts. But I'm one of these people that I like to touch things before I buy them. So I went for the 1-to-1.
Right.
And I had 2 sessions with Sue. And Sue is lovely. And Sue will support you and back you up. It's not just a case of, we're going to take your money and hypnotise you and off you go. There is some back support there. I had my first session and I was a sceptic. As I say, I didn't think they'd be able to put me under. I'd never been hypnotised, didn't know what to expect. And
of course, the thing about this interview, Dave, is I can't ask you what happened because you clearly went to sleep and woke up 40 minutes later.
People keep asking, what did she say? I went, well, I don't know. I've got the apps on my phone. Easy Loss do an app. And this isn't expensive, by the way, $4.99 for the basic app to lose weight. And I still listen to my hypnotic tracks every day. And
I've got to say at this point, because it's a kind of health conversation we're having, is that obviously I and the BBC can't recommend that either way, but so people don't get the wrong idea. But I'm just intrigued to know what happened to you.
It worked for me.
Yeah.
I went to the hypno session, sat in a nice comfy chair, headphones on, relax, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and you're thinking, why am I doing this? This isn't going to work. And the next thing I know, as I say, she's waking me up and going, how do you feel? Open your eyes. I'm thinking, what happened there? It's about 10 minutes gone by. And she went, no, we've been 45 minutes.
Now, I've spoken to people definitely over the years who've had gastric bands, and you know their whole change to the way they deal with food. So what happened to you once you'd done this?
First off, they reboot your brain. I was brought up, like many people, in a household where my mother used to put a big plate of food in front of me and say, clear your plate.
Yes.
You're not getting down from the table until you clear your plate. So it's almost a punishment thing.
Yeah.
And then there's well, if you don't clear your plate, there are people starving in Africa, is my mother's favourite saying. And there's a guilt thing there. So you get a plate of food in front of you, you have to eat it. Now, when I was doing sport and I was younger and I was fitter, that was fine. I've got a spinal problem now, which means I can't exercise. And I can tell people that I've got a slow metabolism or I'm big boned or no, I wasn't. I was overweight. I was 25 stone when I went and saw Sue. I've now just broken the 20 stone barrier.
Well done.
5 stone gone. There's still another couple of stone I want to get off. But the difference in my self-worth, if nothing else, is amazing.
Now, this picture you brought in, we're going to talk more because you're staying with us, but, yes, you're overweight, but also you look stressed and it's almost sweaty there. Can I be blunt?
Yes, no,
yeah.
I
you're
was.
just walking along. It's not like...
Because you overeat, you get all the problems that go with it. You're eating grease and fat, so your hair is lank, your skin is not very good. Because I'm eating less, and I'm not eating a lot differently, I'm not on a diet, but because I'm eating less and I know my body doesn't need more food...
You now look completely different.
My skin feels different, my hair feels different. I feel different.
Yeah. Stay there. We're going to talk more. David Rose-Massom. By the way, if you didn't catch the programme on Monday, How to Lose Weight Well, it's available on all four to watch on Catch Up, 8:31 on BBC Radio Solent. And we're going to be talking with the team later in this half hour about whether they've been hypnotised or not, and whether they believe in it, Judy. So we shall talk more about that a little bit later on. And hypnotism is on the phone in today. We're obviously talking about being happy, but we're also talking about being hypnotised. And David Rose-Massom is happy because he lost 5 stone in 4 months by being hypnotised. He's with us on the show this morning. Oh, look, Kevin James is applauding. Should we do this applauding?
That doesn't happen very often, Kevin James. You've done well.
I was going to say, Kevin never leads the applause. Kevin, good morning. David, welcome back.
Thank you.
Kaz is with us. Judy's here, and Emily Hudson. So thank you, guys. Some quick thoughts then on hypnotism. Would you? Have you? What do you think? Emily, we'll start with you.
I've been offered hypnotism by my friend who's a linguistic programmer, is that right? NLP practitioner. And she, for fear of flying, because I really detest getting on an aeroplane, it makes me really wobbly and I get all shaky hands, and I haven't done it yet.
So, David, should she?
If nothing else, you'll have an hour of lovely relaxation. It's such a wonderful experience. Even the hypno, I do the apps every day, so I sit there and I get comfy in my chair and I have a 45-minute nap, basically, and it still works if you fall asleep. Because
really?
It works. Yes, it works on the subconscious. So it still keeps going and keeps going. And it reaffirms what I've done with the weight loss as well. So every day I've got support that's going, hey, you don't need to do this.
One of my worst things is that I get bad dreams about this kind of thing, about planes, and I think I'd like to get that out. You know, the getting on the plane thing, generally I talk myself out of it, but to actually wake up daily, not daily, but regularly, having had a horrible dream about an aeroplane is what's bad. Do you see what I mean? So I'd like to get that out of my subconscious, really.
So Emily would and might and has been asked to. Kevin James, hypnotism, would you? Do you believe it? Can you believe? Yeah, I can see your eye. Yeah. Kev's got one of his, yes, tell me another look. Kev, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting what Emily said, because my eldest is the same with the plane, and I'll be interested to see maybe with her, but I'll be honest with you, the whole process, I do not believe in it one iota. I'm not even close to believing in it.
Right, okay, Kaz, that's you put in your place, David. Kaz Perry.
I've never done it personally, but I know it does work because my uncle many years ago was a very heavy smoker, really heavy smoker, and he tried to give up numerous times, couldn't, went to a hypnotist, and he gave up successfully. And I'm talking about a man who was smoking 40 a day, and he gave up immediately. Probably, I think, the week after it all happened. And I found as a children, my brother and I growing up, it was very funny. Every time we saw him, we'd say, do you smoke? 'Cause he would say in a robotic voice, I do not smoke. So we would ask him that countless of times because we found it hysterical, because he would literally say as a robot, I do not smoke. So we'd say it all the time to him.
I am losing weight.
There you go.
It's true. It's right. Do join in. We're asking you about hypnotism. Have you been? Would you? Perhaps you're a hypnotist. Let's talk. 0345 30 30 961. Could you convince Kevin James that it works? Bearing in mind, David is sitting next to Kevin. He's not convinced you.
If people are going to go around going, I do not smoke, I mean, what is that?
This was back in the day. I think hypnotherapy has moved on now, Kev.
Kevin might have hit a double century if he'd been hypnotised.
Judy Goodlett, what do you think?
Well, do you know, I was very, very tempted to have hypnotism when I did the Spinner Qatar abseil last year. Then, because I so enjoyed the little abseil I did, I thought, I don't need that. Yeah. But actually, the big abseil was absolutely petrifying, and I really wish I'd done it.
Well, David, the question a lot of people are asking me today is: do you have to want to be hypnotised to be hypnotised? Do you take the point? Do you need to be in the right? Do you want to have to do it? Rather, like, do you want to have to lose weight?
I can only go by my own experience.
Yeah.
And I was sceptical. I didn't believe in it. A bit like Kevin, it was, nah, that's not going to work. And I even sat in the chair listening to her and the nice little soundtrack going on in my headphones. Nah, this isn't going to work. And the next thing I know, I'm being woken up 45 minutes later. I feel refreshed. I felt great and thought, that was nice.
Okay.
And suddenly, without realising it, my brain had been rebooted about how I looked at food. So I can only go by my own experience. So no matter what Kevin says, but
we don't listen to him normally anyway.
Yeah, we don't.
How many times do we hear on the show, no matter what Kevin says?
It's a wonder I'm allowed on air.
Right, look, thank you. Kevin James, Kaz Perry, Judy Gillett and Emily Hudson, thank you. David, stay there because we're going to talk some more in the next hour. And I'd love you to join in now on our phone-in today. Obviously, you can join in and talk about what makes you happy. Of course, you could combine the two and being hypnotised made you happy. But we are talking more about happiness in the next hour. And yes, we're talking hypnotism this morning because we've never done it before. Why not? Have you been hypnotised? Did it work? Did you try to give up smoking, go on a diet, or for some other reason? Maybe some showbiz reason you were hypnotised, or maybe they tried to hypnotise you, it didn't work, and you think it's a load of hooey. I don't mind. Either way, let's talk. 0345 30 3961. Text Solent to 81333 to join in. Hypnotism, first of all. With me on the show this morning, David Rose-Massom. He featured in Monday night's How to Lose Weight Well show on Channel 4. Did you see it? 8 o'clock. David basically was hypnotised, lost 5 stone in 4 months.
64-year-old writer David has struggled with his weight for much of his adult life. Now, over 21 stone and with a bad back, he recently decided to take the plunge to try out weight loss hypnosis.
Sue did her session and she went, and we're going down to 5 and 4, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to sleep, you're not going to get me, and 3 and 2, and the next thing I know, she's telling me I'm waking up, and it was 40 minutes later.
And you don't remember anything from that session?
Absolutely nothing.
So this is going to be an interesting hour because he doesn't remember anything about being hypnotised. So this morning we're talking about being hypnotised with David and with you on the phones. Thank you so much for all your calls so far. And yes, inspired by our apprentice reporter Joe, who's been out and about, because we decided January is a month when we all get a bit miserable, post-Christmas blues. What makes us happy?
By demonstrating love to my close ones.
January sales. Get loads of clothes. That makes you happy, doesn't it, really?
Have a birthday.
It's my date of birthday. That's January, so January is good for me, always, all my life.
So more to come later in the hour on what makes you happy, and we've got an after 9 question about happiness to come a little bit later on as well. But first, David Rose-Massom, yes, here with the subject hypnotism. I suppose for you could combine the two and say that hypnotism made you happy because you've lost 5 stone.
Very much so, yeah. I feel better within my feeling of self-worth. That's the crux of it. I feel so much better about myself.
Were you a sceptic before you did this? Yeah?
Hugely. Even when I sat in the chair in front of her and I'd paid my money, Hampshire hypnotherapy, sat there and went... And it's not like on Little Britain where, it's looking in my eyes, deep into my eyes, or...
Funnily enough, that's going to be our after 9 quiz, you see.
Or falling into a deep sleep. There's none of that. They just talk gently to you and you're thinking, this is not going to work.
Right.
And as I said on that clip, 45 minutes later, I came to. I won't say woke up because I came to, but I felt relaxed, I felt chilled. And being overweight, you saw in my photograph just now, and you noticed that I look sweaty, the hair looked lank.
You're clearly just walking along and it's clearly too much for you.
It was a struggle.
Whereas now you look completely different.
I feel completely different. That's the beauty of it. It's not just... I used to have a fat side of the wardrobe and a thin side of the wardrobe, and the thin side of the wardrobe just stayed there. It never got used.
Well, look, 0345 30 30 961. David with me through this hour to talk hypnotism and your stories. If you've been hypnotised, if you're a complete sceptic and you think it's a load of bunkum, that's fine. Let's talk. Or perhaps like Mavis, you had a fear of water hitting your face and then maybe a fear of flying. Mavis, good morning.
Good morning, Julian.
So those are 2 basically phobias that you've managed to cure, am I right in saying, by being hypnotised?
That's right, yes. The water phobia was through pure hypnosis. I was put into a trance. Right. And the hypnotherapist just played some music and told me to imagine what I wanted to be able to do. And so I was thinking, well, what do I want to do? Well, the thing was, the reason why I'd chosen this point to go to the hypnotherapist was because I was actually a teacher and I used to take children swimming. And I felt a little bit of a fraud.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I was afraid of the water.
That's really difficult.
Sorry?
That's really difficult. I mean, for David, it was... The message was you've got to feel like you've got a gastric band. I mean, obviously you don't know that you were asked to do that, David, but that's what you've been told. Is that right?
Yeah, I went through the whole operating procedure. They take you into theatre, you get the theatre noises.
So it's what's in your imagination?
Yes.
Extraordinary.
And so the surgeon actually talks you through it.
What about for you then, Mavis? What were you told to imagine to cure your fear of water in your face?
Well, because to get my certificate to take the children swimming in future, because they changed the rules, I had to rescue a brick from the bottom of the pool.
This is in the hypnosis?
Yes. No. This was real.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting confused now. Yeah,
sorry.
but what did you have to do? What did they make? How did they make you cure your fear of water in your face? What did they tell you?
Well, they didn't tell me anything. They just apart from imagine what you wanted to be able to do.
Ah, okay. So that's what it was for you.
Yeah, that's right. So I couldn't imagine getting down on the bottom of a pool and picking up a brick, because that's what you had to be able to do to get your certificate.
So you imagined yourself being able to do that?
No, I didn't. I imagined that I was a synchronised swimmer.
Oh, right, okay.
So because I wanted to feel confident in the water, and they always look really, really confident.
And they go upside down with their legs pointing up, and you'd be going down the other way and maybe finding a brick.
That's it, yeah.
And then finally on flying, because time is tight, the same thing, was that imagining you could do it? That was the way you got through that?
No, that was done through neurolinguistic programming, NLP.
Okay.
And a person just kind of talked me through lots of things. And in NLP there are lots of anchors, so he was able to use voice anchoring with me.
Now, look, I better take notes.
Yeah.
NLP. What's the N stand for again?
Neuro. That's about your neurology.
Neuro. Yes.
And
linguistic.
That's about your behaviour, your verbal and non-verbal behaviour.
And then programming. Okay, I've got that.
Programming, how we automatically program.
So is that a form of hypnotherapy?
It is a form of hypnotherapy, and quite often NLP is used in ordinary hypnosis sessions as well.
Mavis, I don't need to ask the question, would you be hypnotised? Because you have been, and it clearly worked. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And David, there you are. For Mavis, 2 things were sorted.
It's about rebooting the brain.
Yeah.
We're brought up to clear our plate of food. You get the guilt complex if you waste food, if you leave some on your plate, and it all trains your brain the wrong way. What the hypnosis did for me was to reboot the brain and see food differently. I still eat all the stuff that I love. I had croissant and jam for breakfast this morning, but I had 1 instead of 2, and it's rebooting the brain all the time.
Join in on 0345 30 30 961. Text Solent to 81333. Email julianclegg@bbc.co.uk. Would you be, or maybe you hit with hypnotism? I was just talking to Judy about this off air. Judy and I think this is really hard. David, who's with us on the show this morning, who's been hypnotised, is telling us why he thinks it's a great thing. I'm asking you whether you agree or not, because obviously we're having a debate, so maybe you think it's a load of rubbish. You just ring in. But however, here we go. Judy, David, here's the clip from the show.
I'm actually performing my hilarious hypnotic laughter show at the local theatre next week. Why don't you come along, and then maybe afterwards we could go out for dinner?
Oh, I'm not really looking to date anyone at the moment, but it was really nice meeting you.
Look into my eyes, look into my eyes. The eyes, not around the eyes. Don't look around the eyes, look into my eyes. You're under. In a moment, I will click my fingers and you will give me your telephone number so I can take you out on a date.
So there you are. That was Matt Lucas playing a stage hypnotist. It's not like that at all, is it, David?
No.
Yeah. However, can you... this is tough, because I didn't know this. Can you remember the name of the character that Matt Lucas is playing there? That is really hard. Now, I've got a clue, but let's see if anyone gets it before we do the clue. If you think you know, 0345 30 30 961 is my phone number. Can you name the character that Matt Lucas plays, the stage hypnotist in Little Britain? If you can, you're very clever. 0345 30k. So this on the show this morning, David Rose-Massom, who basically was hypnotised into thinking he had a gastric band. For some people with gastric bands, David, it's almost you just don't want to eat. But in your case, you're saying you just don't want to eat very much.
That's exactly it. It's not a case of don't want to eat. Originally, your brain is rebooted to see food differently.
Right.
But because the size of the stomach is smaller, you need a smaller intake. Now, because I lead quite a sedentary life, I've got a disability in that I can't go to the gym, I can't work out, so I don't need a lot of calories to burn.
Yeah.
So instead of now a big plate of food, I have a smaller plate. I always leave food on the plate because the guilt has gone about leaving food on the plate. And I just have smaller meals.
Okay. Well, look, Claudia is on the line from, I'm going to say East Hampshire this morning. I'm not going to say any more, just somewhere in East Hampshire, nice and vague. Claudia, just says on my screen, very much against it. Tell me more.
Well, I wouldn't say... Well, I had a bad experience with hypnotherapy, and the experience was that I had to have a procedure where they put a camera down your throat, and I had the option of being put to sleep or having it awake. And I don't particularly like being put to sleep, so I thought, well, I'm terrified to have it awake. And a friend of mine is a hypnotherapist, and he said to me, well, why don't I have a couple of treatments with me and you'll be fine. So I did that, and I went and had the procedure awake, and I wasn't as terrified as I thought I would be. And when the actual procedure happened, it was so horrific, and I felt like they were murdering me. It was horrible. It's quite quick, so if anyone ever has to have the camera down the throat, be put to sleep, insist on it. It's horrible.
These are your words.
Was shaking like a leaf after, right. And I sort of reflected on it after, and I thought to myself, well, that fear was there for a reason. And sometimes your fear is there for a reason. And I've heard other stories, and I can't specifically remember them accurately, but I know that the feeling was something about someone had a fear of crossing roads, or and then they went to hypnotherapy, and then they got run over. So maybe there is a reason why you have a fear. So before you go and try and get rid of it, you need to try and ascertain why you have that fear.
Or maybe the whole physical experience overcame whatever you've been hypnotised to think. I don't know whether it can break through. Maybe it did.
Well, maybe if he was sitting there with me at the time whatever, I was sort of prepared just before the procedure, but he wasn't at the hospital.
So David, coming in with some thoughts on this, David.
Because I've got a disability, I suffer with a lot of pain, and I actually asked the hypnotherapist if I could have some therapy to get rid of the pain, and she quite categorically said no, because if we get rid of your pain, you don't know when something's wrong.
Okay.
So quite simply,
yes,
I can. She gives me hypnosis to relax. I've got the app to relax, which is fine, and that helps. But to actually tell me that I'm not hurting when I am hurting is considered dangerous.
So Claudia, I know what the answer is to would you be hypnotised again? You're going to, because I won't even bother to ask you. But thank you very much for coming on the show, and it's lovely to talk to you.
Likewise, take care.
Cheers, bye-bye. So that's, doesn't always work. Or it may be it's not appropriate.
I think that's the one. It's not appropriate in some
number
cases.
of people asking me hypnotherapy and psychotherapy, what's the difference? And I've got the NHS definitions here. Hypnotherapy is a type of complementary therapy that uses hypnosis, which is an altered state of consciousness. Hypnosis is widely promoted as a treatment for various long-term conditions and for breaking certain habits. This is despite the fact there's no strong evidence to support these uses. So that's the NHS website. Psychotherapy, because that's come up as well, is a type of therapy used to treat emotional problems and mental health conditions. It involves talking to a trained therapist, either one-to-one or in a group or with your wife, husband or partner. It allows you to look deeper into your problems and worries and deal with troublesome habits and a wide range of mental disorders such as depression and schizophrenia. So now, just in case these come up later in the hour, we know where we are.
It sounds like it's gentle or hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? 9:28 on BBC Radio Solent. Hypnosis. Have you been? Claudia certainly won't be again. Maybe you have and you're really glad you did it, like our first caller, Mavis, who's been hypnotised twice and solved her problem of water in the face and flying. What's your story? Now, on the way, traffic and travel with Judy, and all being well, the name of the character that Matt Lucas plays in Little Britain as a hit. Our other subject of the morning, hypnotism. David Rose-Massom, my guest on the show this morning. He's from Southampton. He lost 5 stone in 4 months after being hypnotised into thinking he had a gastric band. And he was featured on a new Channel 4 documentary on Monday night, How to Lose Weight Well. David, for you, presumably there's more to come on this. You want to lose more now, do you?
Oh, yes, very much so. It's not. I've changed the way I look at food. That's the important thing. I eat less, which is great, but I still eat delicious stuff.
So let's put a date in the diary for another. So how many months is since you started this? 4 months.
4 months.
So maybe we need to talk again in another 4 months to see how you're doing.
That'd be good.
To keep an eye on it. Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Alan in Portsmouth is listening to this morning. Now, we've already on air had someone very much in favour of hypnotism, someone very much against it. Alan has been a hypnotherapist for 12 years, worked alongside doctors and replaced anaesthetic for dental surgery. Morning, Alan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
First question is, how did you get into it?
It was always an interest when I was younger. I had the opportunity to move to Australia, took up psychology and studied that for a while, and met a guy down there called Rick Collingwood, who was a top hypnotherapist down there, travelled the world. America, he spent a lot of time there, took me under his wing and spent 2 years training with him, and then he actually asked me to replace him as and when he went abroad, and really opened my eyes to the benefits of hypnosis.
Now, the bit that doesn't quite tie up now between what, David, you were saying about your hypnotist saying that he would refuse to get rid of pain because then he wouldn't know if you had pain.
Yes.
I mean, is that different, Alan, if you're getting rid of presumably pain from a dental anaesthetic, which is what I call big-time pain?
Anaesthetic relieves the acute pain. What David's on about there is chronic pain, long-term pain.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Okay. And when you do that, how long does it take to get someone ready to be hypnotised?
In about 15 minutes. There are different techniques to putting someone into hypnosis. With that, we used the relaxation technique. So 15 minutes to get down. The woman was 93. The actual operation took around about 7-8 minutes. She had a pacemaker. She was elderly. So as soon as the dentist put her in the chair, and I did my work as such, and it was all over in no time.
And look, it's a morning of debunking myths. We've clearly debunked the look into my eyes bit, because obviously we're having a bit of fun with Little Britain, so that doesn't happen. The other thing is, fob watches on the end of chains. Does that happen?
That can work. It's just a lot of focusing. I've yet to see anyone turned into a chicken, and that's what a lot of people say to me. I've never seen that as yet.
I was waiting for that question.
I did actually train people in Australia, and the first thing I did when I walked in was put a bag of birdseed on the desk and see the reaction. But
David, what did you have? Was yours a chain and a watch? Because you looked at me there when I said that.
No, it's not. It's just I would have chuckled at that. I probably wouldn't have gone under it. It's just the softness of voice, the repetition.
Right. So it's the style of delivery.
Yeah, basically.
Right, Alan, fascinating. And you've been doing it for 12 years now. And what's the most unusual thing you've had to put someone under for?
I've had a fear of buttons right up until terminally ill people, and substance abuse.
So
we had
the whole
a woman
lot.
down there.
We
all the way through. I still do the weight loss and the stop smoking, but as I say, if you go online and look at Belgium now, they do thyroid operations using hypnosis. It really is an adjunct thing, modality. It's something we work alongside doctors, psychologists and surgeons and consultants, not to replace. So we wouldn't discuss anything to do with prescribed drugs or anything.
Of course,
we work alongside them.
Alan,
so I've worked from the bottom to the top.
I'm going to say thank you. And by the way, I was reading out the NHS website on hypnotherapy, and the last paragraph, because I talked about what it is, and then the last paragraph is, however, hypnosis does seem to have an effect, though scientists disagree about how it works. Some experts see it as a relaxation technique that uses the power of suggestion or relies on the placebo effect. I mean, David, have you worked out in your head how you think it works?
I don't think I need to.
No?
Because it actually worked for me.
So as far as you're concerned, the mechanic is irrelevant?
Yes. If I work out how it works, it might actually stop it working for me. So I don't need to know how it works. All I know is it worked.
Okay. We'll come back and conclude our conversation on hypnosis and reveal the name of that TV show